Welcome to the home of football. Welcome to Monday night and another fans forum, live and exclusive, as they say, on Arsenal Player. Great to have you with us. Be even better to talk to you tonight. We are here, of course, to get you on air to the Arsenal speaking world. Best way to do that, give us a call. 0207 607 3200 is the number. That's 0207 607 3200. You can email us anytime as well. That is fansforum@arsenal.co.uk is the address you need. Or you can tweet. We are at Arsenal. The hashtag is fansforum. Plenty to talk about, not least. I mean, what was that about Friday night? I mean, it just kills you. Then international football, 10 minutes in, the geezer gets absolutely cleaned out. And, you know, we need him. But that's, well, perhaps that is a subject for tonight, what you make of international football in the middle of a season and where it's placed, where it stands in relation to the stuff that really matters. 0207 607 3200 gets you through. Delighted to say we're joined tonight by Jim Van Wyk from the Press Association. Or, well, actually, to be more precise, Jim, I think we'd better come clean and admit that we have been sitting here for the past 7 days talking about the Arsenal, just waiting for the cameras to come back on, basically. Anyway, great to have Jim with us again this evening. Great to have you with us too. Whatever you want to talk about, as long as it's the Arsenal to do for me and Jim, 0207 607 3200 gets you through. You can email fansforum@arsenal.co.uk or you can tweet. We are at Arsenal and the hashtag you need is Fans Forum, and there is plenty to talk about. You may remember back in the mists of time before the international break, what an inspiring night that was down at Upton Park when we saw off West Ham by 3-1 in the last Premier League game we played in, and there are sort of good memories from that, Jim, and I'm thinking particularly, you know, we will get onto the subject of Norwich City in due course because obviously we want to discuss your special subject. But, you know, there are things that went on in this game. I'm thinking particularly, not least, the kind of quality of the goals we scored, but actually the work ethic, the application, the courage, if you like, that came with playing at Upton Park last weekend. Arsenal absolutely have to take that to Carrow Road next Saturday afternoon, don't they?
Yeah, I think it's going to be all about momentum again. I mean, the first 20 minutes, we didn't see any of the highlights here, but when Arsenal, you feel if they'd have got one, they would have probably, you know, got three. And if they turn up with the same attitude again, at Norwich on Saturday, I think it could be a long afternoon there. For that.
I mean, it is one of those. It's just one of those classic games where you think, look, if we work as hard as Norwich City will work, because they will work, they absolutely will graft. And Chris Hughton wouldn't want it any other way, particularly because he's from up the road, of course. Yeah, as long as we work as hard as Norwich do, then we should win the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the first sort of 20-25 minutes are going to be key there. If Arsenal come out with the same attitude as they did at Upton Park and with a little bit more fortune, then you know, you can see him easily scoring a couple of early goals, and you know that would then kill the crowd because it's quite a compact stadium there, isn't it? With, you know, everyone sort of right on
fantastic
right on top of you. So
yeah,
it's all set up to be an interesting encounter.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Is that your word? Is that the Norwich City word on it?
I think, you know, I mean, we've got to be honest, the golfing class is there for, you know, for all to see. I mean, when you're coming up against teams like, you know, Arsenal, like Norwich did the other week against Chelsea, although, you know, took the lead at Chelsea, but only had it for a couple of minutes. I think that's going to be the difference. And, you know, when you come up against these sides, you've just got to try and keep in the game, you know, for as long as possible, and stop Arsenal doing what Arsenal can do very well, and as what you saw that they can do at West Ham, which is slice you apart very, very quickly and very easily.
I mean, there is the issue that, of course, well, on the one hand, we've had, you know, a 2-week international break. One now. Yeah, that's one thing. But the other is that, of course, later, just 2-3 days later, arguably the most important game of Arsenal's group stage in the Champions League this season, Schalke at home. You know, having made a fantastic start, although haven't played fantastically well in either game, either against Montpellier in France or at home to Olympiacos. Got 6 points, though, from the two games. Beat Schalke at home and you're a point away from qualification, you're 3 points away from topping the group. It really is the one that kind of will say where you're most likely to finish up, and you worry a bit about having half a mind on what might be seen as a quote unquote bigger or more glamorous game just 2 or 3 days later. You kind of go up to Norwich with that let's get this one out of the way frame of mind, and then who knows what happens, you know, because Norwich will have a go.
Yeah, I mean there certainly is that worry, but on the other hand, you know, I know that, you know, as much as you put faith in your own team, that, you know, a second Arsenal string, or whatever you like, should better turn up there, and, you know, particularly with the way, you know, Norwich's defence is playing at the moment. I mean, leaked more goals than anybody else, and, you know, if Norwich ship 2, you know, we're likely to ship 4 or 5. So this would have been perhaps the ideal game if Theo Walcott had been fit. You thought, well, you know, let's give him a go in the middle. You know, maybe rest one of the 2 of the guys who have played or particularly had long trips in midweek. I think that's probably more about it than how much game time they have. But you know, I mean, look, let's face it. If Norwich get anything out of that apart from, you know, right good stuffing, then you know, I think we'd be very happy with that. But like
Norwich are worse side than they were last season.
I don't think so, Tom. No, I think we've bought better. I think we're a better squad. I just think our problem is that looking down the fixture list, the 2 games that we should have won and would have taken then all the pressure off, which was against West Ham at home, Queen's Park Rangers at home. We played well enough to win those games. Excellent result at Tottenham, and then we came up against teams which, you know, really I never thought we were going to win anyway.
Yeah, just there was that amazing game at the end of last season, a 3-3 draw here, and you think, well, you know, got something about them.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as I say, I think our squad is stronger. I think we've. I actually thought defensively we were more sound, but the same. You know, I guess the same problem is that Norwich look like, you know, if we let one in, that we're going to let, you know, 3 or 4. I mean, you know, Suarez has just strolled through the defence the other week. And, you know, I mean, and Arsenal have got technically better players than him, and you just wonder what, you know, Costello, if he's on his form, you know, can do.
Hoping.
But you never know. You never know. Keep it tight, 20 minutes. You know, got the end, whip one in, Holty 1-0. We'll take that. Thank you very much.
0207 607 3200 gets you through whatever you want to talk about, as long as it's the Arsenal to do. For Jim Van Wyk from the Press Association and myself, you can email us fansforum@arsenal.co.uk, or you can tweet. We are at Arsenal. The hashtag is fansforum. Carl is in Detroit, USA. Carl, welcome to the home of football.
Oh, many thanks.
Carl, you're very welcome.
Hello?
You're very welcome. What are you thinking?
Oh, I want to speak about Theo Walcott and Olivier Giroud.
Yeah.
Although Theo Walcott is currently injured, but I just hope this problem with his contract is resolved ASAP. I don't want us to lose Theo Walcott. He's a valuable member of the team. Although I don't understand this issue of Theo Walcott wanting to play as a central striker, but I also think he will also come good and when he plays as a central striker. But my second point is Olivier Giroud. I do agree with what I read in the papers about Ray Parlour talking about Olivier Giroud. He is going to be very good for Arsenal. I think Arsenal fans should just be patient with Olivier Giroud. I've watched his runs. He makes very fantastic runs, and it's just quite unfortunate it didn't work out for him in the game against Chelsea and a few other games. But looking at the goal he scored against West Ham the other day, I was screaming my head off. That was a super fantastic goal. And I think with a little time, his confidence is coming up. He will come good for Arsenal. And lastly, on Theo Walcott, please and please, can they get his contract issue resolved? Theo Walcott is very good. Look at that against West Ham. The way he broke, it's not getting. If it was before, Theo Walcott would have an offside. But he's able to do, you know, time is runs now, and he's coming as a very good finisher. 2 goals against Coventry, the other goal against West Ham. You come forth, and please, Arsene Wenger, Don't let your Walcott go.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Carl, and so say all of us, mate. It's absolutely bang on both counts. Thanks very much indeed for the call. 0207 607 3200. I mean, it tells you we've had about enough of it in that the subject of Theo Walcott's contract is coming up week after week at the moment, and you do just feel like, oh, look, get this sorted out. Surely he wants to play for the Arsenal. Surely we want him to play for the Arsenal. So just get in a room and organise it. Very interesting what Carl said about Olivier Giroud, though, and I don't know if you read Ray Parler's comments. You know, obviously a fan, and it's interesting. Carl saying, oh, Arsenal fans should be patient with him. Actually, I think Arsenal fans are sold on Giroud. You know, particularly, funny enough, the away support. You know, 'cause I think Arsenal fans are kind of ready for him to go. I haven't met many other supporters who've got any problem whatsoever who are going, oh, he hasn't scored it. Obviously, that's the stuff that you'll see on back pages and hear on phone-ins, other than this one, of course. But you know what I mean? That whole kind of, oh, he hasn't scored. I don't think there were a lot of Arsenal supporters out there who were kind of worried about Giroud, and he was absolutely outstanding. Quite apart from the goal, all elements of his game at West Ham weekend before last.
Yeah, I think so. Definitely. He probably would have been more concerned, wouldn't he, if he wasn't making the runs, if he wasn't, you know, going close. I mean, he had that. He could have easily scored against Chelsea, but you know, fantastic save by Petr. And watching him against West Ham and there in the press box, you're so high up and looking down, you don't realise how big a guy he is and what a physical presence he is. And you know, he can put himself about and. You know, and the way he worked for that goal as well, for his own goal, starting and finishing the move, I think that said volumes for him. And I think you're right. I don't think there's been any issue with people worrying about it. And people said, well, you know, you've got to expect the guy to take a bit of time. Maybe it was just because...
Well, West Ham was only his fourth start or something.
Yeah, I mean, because just the other guys, because Podolski settled so quickly and scored, and Carthola obviously looked like he'd never played anywhere else. So maybe that was just why it took him a little bit of time.
Carl, thanks very much indeed for the call. G1 is also in the United States, in Georgia. G1, whereabouts in Georgia are you?
Hello?
Hello?
Yes, I'm from Columbus, Georgia. It's a small town about 2 hours away from Atlanta.
There we are. You see, I like a little bit of geography. I like to know where you're talking to us from. Thanks for that. Welcome to the home of football. What you want to talk about, G1?
Yes, sir. I just wanted to talk about Giroud a little bit. And I was wondering if I was right or not. I could be mistaken, but whenever I watch Giroud play, I feel that he isn't getting enough feed into the box. I mean, he always gets into the best positions and his movement is superb, but it seems his teammates aren't finding him as often as they should. I might be mistaken, but I feel that if the midfielders and the wings get used to Giroud's style of his movement and his positioning, you could definitely see more goals from him. It's just that right now, I see Giroud open so often, but I just get frustrated because the ball isn't finding him. I don't know. What do you guys think?
No, I think it's a decent point, isn't it? You know, it's not just about a player settling, it's also about the rest of the team working out how to play with, you know, and it's a while since we've had the kind of centre forward that you want to launch crosses into the box for him to get on the end of with his head. But he's got a great all-round game, you know, and you saw it, obviously he scored his goal, but then the way he created the goal for Theo Walcott was just as admirable. You know, he's 10 yards inside his own half, gets the ball with his back to goal, travels 20 yards and then just releases it at just the right time. It is just, you know, it is as much about other people getting used to him as it is him getting used to English football.
I mean, that's obviously it's the thing that strikers are all going to be judged on, isn't it? Is their goals to games ratio. But I think as well sometimes we need to look at it and look at the bigger picture and look how hard he works for the team. And you know, he certainly put a shift in, didn't he? And as you said, for that goal from Theo, he was the one who dropped back, picked the ball up, held on to it, and then just released it at the perfect time. I mean, Juan's right about the service issue. I mean, that cross that Podolski put in was a fantastic cross, exactly where the defender doesn't want it, and exactly where the centre forward does. I think if we'd seen a bit better from Gervinho, then he would have maybe had more of a supply line. But yes, certainly. I mean, once the guys can work out exactly where he needs to go, if he looks like he's going to be that main man, in the middle. But he's also, plenty of movement as well around the box, and creating spaces for himself.
Giron, do you look at Giroud now, particularly having got the goal under his belt at West Ham? Do you see him now and say, OK, he starts every game at centre forward, or give him now 6 starts and see how he settles?
I think Giroud, with his experience, especially in the league, of course, is different from the Premier League, which is much more fast and much more physical. But I do think that he does have the potential to start every game and maybe try to get his confidence even higher than he is right now.
Yeah.
I think if you take him off of the starting lineup, I think it'll kind of hinder his improvement within the team.
Yeah,
so I would rather him start every game, as long as he's fit and he's performing well during the training sessions.
Yeah, I just feel at some point he is going to need a run of games like that, and I'm with you. To be fair, Ligue 1 is a lot more physical than it used to be. I don't think that kind of the physicality of the Premier League is an issue for him. To be perfectly honest, you might be right about the speed of it, but that is a much more. We think of French football and we think of. You just kind of tend to think of good technical players. It's a very physical league just at the moment, and so I don't think that's going to be a problem settling in. G1, thanks very much indeed for the call. 0207 607 3200 gets you through to myself and Jim Van Wyk from the Press Association. Charlie is in North London. Charlie, welcome to the home of football.
All right.
Yeah, not bad. You?
Yeah, good. Yeah. No,
Go
I
on.
was just saying. Peter Hillwood said earlier on last week or whatever, the 35 million transfer kitty for January.
Yeah.
But I don't know if we really need to spend now, or was this 35 million needed 2 seasons ago? Because the defence is good, the midfield, hopefully with Wilshere, Arteta and Santi Cazorla, will be good.
Yeah.
And up front it's Podolski, Gervinho and Giroud.
Yeah.
So
Would you not be interested in seeing another centre forward here?
Oh yeah, no, Falcao looks brilliant.
Yeah, I don't think we're getting Falcao for 35 million. To be perfectly honest,
Yeah.
He does look brilliant.
No.
You're absolutely right. But there may be other centre forwards out there, perhaps more along the lines of an Olivier Giroud. That kind of perhaps early in an international career, people with a bit of development to do. But is that where, if we were going to spend money in January, is that where you'd spend it up front or anywhere else in the team?
I think the only other place where you'd buy one is either at fullback, because apart from that, we've got kind of a lot of kind of extra subs in anyway, and at left back it's fine. So it's really only right back or in goal if they were thinking about buying one, but I don't think they are. The 3 keepers.
Do you think, that 35 million quote has come out as a, now you never know whether that's 35 million pounds to spend on a player or 35 million pound including wages, or, and obviously it be in some part dependent on whether you get someone else out to free up some, whether that's, whoever that might be. What do you think the chances are of Arsenal spending big in January, Jim? Do you think that's something that the club, that Arsene Wenger's planning to do, or do you think it's the kind of thing he might do if the right player and the right opportunity came along?
I think that, as you said, it's probably more likely it's not 35 million quid for one player. I think that's probably going to be the whole pot, 35 million, and that's got to include, it's got to include the wages package in there as well. But yeah, I think his summer signings were a shift from maybe buying a player for a little bit less money that no one had heard of, say, like a Koscielny, a Jenkinson, and he's gone now for more established, experienced players. And I think, as we talked about last week, there are other options. I mean, you could throw in someone like, Andy Carroll, or someone of that stature, of that ilk, of that experience. But I think definitely centre forward is an area where you've got to strengthen, especially when you see guys, when you see the guys who are not there. You got Park not playing, Chamakh not playing, Bentner. I mean, where are the the backups? Okay, we say, well, Theo, Walcott and Gervinho, but they're real sort of, backup centre forwards at the moment. I'd like to see.
Yeah, although
like
Gervinho, to be fair, every time he's played at centre forward, you're looking at a golden
He's
assist.
not an out centre forward as you would expect.
No, a lot more comfortable playing as a centre forward than he is as a right winger, though. Thanks very much indeed for the call, Charlie. Ady's in Portsmouth. Ady, welcome to the home of football.
How you doing, guys?
Yeah, good. You?
I'm good. Just got like a few points to talk about.
Yeah, go on.
This evening with you guys. Obviously, I feel like the signings, all three signings we've brought in, settled in now.
Yeah.
And I think like it's time to push on as a squad. I think we've got a very strong squad. You can see that like we're versatile. We've got numbers of players that can play in the middle three. We've got options up front with Giroud, Jorginho, Podolski, Theo Walcott up front as well. And I think like the problem we had before in centre back, where we've had like one great centre back and a couple mediocre centre backs. Like I think we've got that position set now with Mertesacker, Koscielny and Vermaelen, three world-class centre backs.
Yeah.
And I just feel that like we can finally push on now, so that like in January when we can like sit down and see where we need to improve on, so we can actually mount a title challenge. And also the final thing I just wanted to talk about was the Jenkinson and Sagna position. Like, so obviously Sagna's the best right back in the league.
Yeah.
One of the best right backs in Europe. But I feel Jenkinson has actually proved himself this season. I feel that like obviously we've only played 7 games, couple Champions League matches as well. But in every single match, it's like he's improved every single match. And like obviously he's 20 years old, he's still got a long time to come. But I thought he started so well, it would be a crime just for Wenger to say, Sagna's in, and then pop Sagna back in. I feel that Jenkinson's like really proved himself. Last season, I actually rated him. He had attributes that I could feel that if he built upon, he could actually be a good right back. But then it's just how quickly he improved for me. That's just like amazed me.
Yeah. No, I think you're absolutely right. He has been an absolute standout this season. That said, I don't know how you feel, Joe. That said, I would still, if I was comfortable with Sagna's fitness, I would bring him straight back in. Just because I think, you said yourself, Ada, I think he is the best right back in the league, and I just think, there are still things I suspect that Carl Jenkinson, particularly when it comes to the defensive side of the game, that Carl Jenkinson can still learn from Bacary Sagna. And he's the kind of player, he is young, and he's not one, I guarantee, who's going to kick up if he's had a great start to the season. He's on the threshold of playing for England. But if Bacary Sagna comes back and goes straight back into the team, Carl Jenkinson is not going to go, moaning to the papers or moaning to his dad or moaning to anybody, to be perfectly honest. He'll just get on with it because he's here for the long haul.
Yeah, I think I've been very, very impressed by his development. I have to say I was a bit unsure why, the manager would take, someone from such a, lower league. But, who are we to question Arsene's wisdom? Again, it's proven, in a fantastic player that he's got. I think you're right, Tom. I think Sagna is one of the best right backs, if not the best right back in the division. And I think the key thing with Sagna, especially when Theo Walcott is fit, and if you're playing Theo Walcott in that position, is how well they work together. Because as good a player as Jenkinson is, I don't think he's quite as effective on the overlap. I don't think he's quite got the pace that Sagna has, and can deliver. Delivers the ball well, but I think Sagna's delivery is a key factor as well.
Well, I think Sagna will kind of talk Theo through a game as well, particularly through the defensive side of his game, and I just it's not for no reason that everybody's.
But you can see him in the long term being. Both fullbacks, to be fair, you can see both of them settled for the long term.
Oh, absolutely. You'd like nothing better than to see Carl Jenkinson.
He's an Arsenal lad, isn't he? And he's fulfilling his dream there. Playing for the club. And
no, absolutely. Oh, you'd like nothing better than to see him and Kieran Gibbs play the next 10 years as fullbacks for Arsenal. It'd be fantastic. And obviously the fact that he's English is increasingly important when it comes to kind of squad compositions and complying with regulations and what have you. And I can't, I mean, obviously Arsene Wenger has seen something, or Steve Rowley has someone seen something, because he had only, what, 7 games maybe for Charlton have been playing. I thought it was Hayes and Yedden. It was actually Eastbourne Borough he was off playing for. And you just think the fella has just come on leaps and bounds. So for the long term, absolutely he's going to be Arsenal's right back. For right now, if you've got Bacary Sagna and he's fit, I think you're playing. But you may disagree. 0207 607 3200 is the number. 80, thanks very much indeed for the call. 0207 607 3200. You can email us, fansforum@arsenal.co.uk, or you can tweet. We are at Arsenal and the hashtag is fansforum. Email from Adam Manasseh. Says, hi guys, I feel that Mannone has done extremely well this time around and looks as if he has matured greatly on his loan spells and the experience that comes with age. Szczesny has been consistent last season, however I still feel that we are lacking the world-class keeper necessary to win the title. Cech and Joe Hart have contributed significantly at crucial points during last season to ensure that their teams felt success. However, I feel that Szczesny may not have the tactical awareness and match experience to deal with certain situations that a more mature world-class keeper would. I tell you what, goalkeeper is a very, very interesting position to talk about. I think, you know, we saw at the World Cup that Wojciech Szczesny has still got plenty to learn about football, and at the top. And, you know, it's very, very rare that a team wins the league without a truly outstanding goalkeeper. Szczesny is capable of doing truly outstanding things. Is he a truly outstanding goalkeeper yet? I mean, I think we were all kind of comfortable with the idea of him being Arsenal's #1. And Mannone, it's true, has done very, very well in Szczesny's absence. But I'm just wondering, is goalkeeper still a position? You know, there was all that talk 2 seasons ago about Schwarzer coming to the club. Just wonder what kind of difference that might have made if that deal had gone through, because I think Schwarzer over the piece has been an outstanding goalkeeper. He may be coming towards, may not be the goalkeeper he was even 2 years ago now, but do you think goalkeeper is still a position that Arsenal need to look at, or? Well,
we're just seeing here some highlights of Szczesny's play, and I mean, he's a fantastic shot stopper. I think he's improved with his with this command of the area. However, you know, he is now, you know, recently been, you know, 1 or 2. I don't want to say blunders, because that's a bit harsh, but there are 1 or 2 mistakes maybe creeping into his game. There have been some suggestions that off the field maybe he wasn't focused as much as he had been. I think the manager is sort of took him to task a little bit on that, and I think he's would come back, you know, much more.
I mean, I've got no idea how soon he's going to be.
No, well, the manager kept sort of saying 2 or 3 weeks, and my colleague James Ollie, you know, well, from the Evening Standard, said to the manager, well, you know, we kind of hear this from you. You know, you say, oh, he's 2 or 3 weeks away, 2 or 3 weeks away. Is there an issue? He said, no, it's just his ankle, and it's a planned layoff to get the ankle right, so when he comes back, that he will be there. But I mean, it's a funny one, isn't it? Because for so long we had this young Polish guy saying, I can be the Arsenal #1. You know, I'm the man to do it.
Yeah, which I still think he can.
I'm absolutely. Everyone was saying, well, you know what you're talking about, you can't. And then he came in and he produced those performances, and you think, well, yeah, you know, this guy is right, and I think he's certainly got it in his locker, and he's still young enough. But you have to say, Mannone has come in, and you know, I don't think he's really, you know, made too many errors. I think his distribution has been, you know, pretty good and pretty quick, and he's made some decent saves. So I think he is pushing to Szczesny now, and probably that's maybe what he needs, and he is maybe now ahead of Fabianski in the pecking order. But you've also got a couple of younger goalkeepers as well. Who
like Martinez.
I'm hearing good things about that. Yeah. You know, there. So I don't see any reason why that should be a particular area, because if you're good enough, you know, or is it as you say?
Well, I don't know. I'm just asking the question whether, you know, you look at Mertesacker, you look at Podolski, you look at Santi Cazorla, you look at Mikel Arteta, you know, players that have been signed over the course of the last kind of year, 15 months, and you're looking at players who are kind of absolutely ready to go. Do you know what I mean? Established international players, or hardened Premier League players.
But I mean, the email mentioned Joe Hart. I mean, he's not 35, is he?
No, absolutely.
He's just an exceptional young keeper. You know, people talking about Butland as well. You know, these guys. So, you know, if you're a good keeper, does it really, you know, make any difference?
No, I don't think it does.
Can you make up for the lack of match experience by just, you know, saving shots, pulling off world-class saves? You know, I think Szczesny needs to, you know, improve his distribution. You know, certainly, and it's easy to say, isn't it? Cut out mistakes like the one against Southampton. You know, that kind of thing. But for every mistake he has, he also has, you know, 2-3 great saves in his locker. So
no, absolutely, and we have seen, which we perhaps haven't seen, but you know, a lot of people have talked about Arsenal goalkeepers in recent years and gone, oh well, they don't make. It's always been kind of talked about, not making too many mistakes, but I think what the email Manasseh, wasn't it, was getting at was that you see Joe Hart, you see Peter Cech, you know, you have seen, I don't know, you know, the Manchester United goalkeeper. Right? No, not De Gea, you know, the last good one they have. Yeah, Van der Sar. You know, you see those players making saves that win games. You know, that you kind of count up. You know, I go back, you know, you can go back as far as kind of the double in 70, 71. Bob Wilson, although Frank McKinnon was the PFA player, supporters player of the year was Bob Wilson. Because you would see week in, week out, you would see saves that actually won games. And Szczesny is definitely, Szczesny is the one who I look at and I think he's got that ability. He's got the ability to make saves that will win you a game of football. You know, you're absolutely right. I think Mannone's done fantastically since he came into the team. I'm not convinced that he will do that, that he will win you games. You know, I think he absolutely, you know, it's like, you remember that, when was it? You know, when David Seaman had a spell out and Alex Manninger came in and kept something like 14 clean sheets or something, you know, and you think, well, he's not making mistakes. He's a really good goalkeeper and he's not making mistakes. As soon as the top man's back, he's in the team. Because not only does he not make mistakes, he also makes saves that win you games. And that's I think Manasseh's right. You know, a good goalkeeper, and we've definitely got two good goalkeepers, and you know, maybe in Szczesny, we've got the kind of outstanding goalkeeper you need if you're serious about winning the league.
Would you be more comfortable with a more experienced goalkeeper as a backup to him? So that if he was, or has Mannone now shown that he's that available and in the
No, I think it's time for Szczesny to kick on. I think I looked at Szczesny last season. I thought until the last 5 or 6 weeks of the season, he wasn't quite so, you know, but for the most part last season, I thought that's fine. He's going to be Arsenal's goalkeeper for the next however long it is. Now, I saw there a goalkeeper who could do things that kept you in games that you might have lost and could, you know, win your games. You know, there are saves that win football matches, and he's got the capacity to do that. I just think he needs to kick on, doesn't he? You know, it wasn't a great finish to the season on his part. Obviously, he had a disastrous World Cup. Disastrous European Championship, and now he's come back and he's struggling with injury.
But I think he was carrying a shoulder problem, I think, for a long time.
I know. Well, so it's hard to judge. You need to the fella needs to be 100% fit, and then we need to see him kick on and do it for 40 games in a season. Andy is in Cheshunt. Andy, welcome to the home of football.
Hey, how you doing, Sam?
Not bad. You?
Yeah, well, I'm kind of I've stopped pulling out everything out of my body because I'm missing the Arsenal now. Do you know what I mean?
How fed up do you get?
2 weeks are a nightmare.
Isn't it? It drives me mad. You think England 5, San Marino 0. Someone remind me, what was the point of that?
I know. Well, the point was at least Oxlade scored, and he looked very good when he did. You know what I mean? When he did it. So,
no, absolutely. I'd rather he was doing it for us, but yeah.
Exactly. Well, I just wanted to talk about the club and the Arsenalisation of the club.
Yeah.
And thinking about the fans and the songs, because that was one of the most endearing things that attracted me to Arsenal. And also my son who is now 15 years of age, and you know he is what I can see to be a lifelong Arsenal fan. I mean,
good work, Andy. Good work.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you very much.
Proper dad.
But
yeah.
there are certain things that I think that the club missed in regards to what the fans were all about. And one of the chants that I absolutely loved, which kept an atmosphere going, was the certain sections in the crowd: the West Stand, the East Stand, the North Bank, and the clock end. So they'd sing to each other.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And the call and response from that was the most unique thing that I've ever seen out of a club, right? And the fact that one end would stand up and clap the other end for singing and participating was amazing.
Yeah.
Now, that element of us as fans is missing for me, okay? And I don't understand why it took them so long to actually put the clock in the ground as well. And as much as I know it's kind of like a circular stadium that we've got, but I think it would be wonderful if they could somehow put sections so that we do have the North Bank clock end and bring that back in.
Yeah, well, I mean, to be fair, it is now North Bank, Clock End, East and West Stands. You know, that kind of that renaming rather than, because it used to be by colour, didn't it? Which was just like, whose idea was that? But it's you know, it has been that is one of the things the clubs try to do. I don't know. I mean, I think that what you're feeling like we've lost a bit. I think you could go to almost any big club and you'd observe exactly the same. I think it's a bit to do with kind of, you know, what crowds bring with them these days. I mean, there are certain things that you look perhaps overseas, you know, look at probably the best atmosphere at football at the moment in Europe is in Germany. And there are certain things there. You can have a drink inside the stadium for ordinary Bundesliga games. The stadium's seats tip up and you can actually stand to watch football. The prices are much, much lower. You know, those things evidently do make some difference. And you know it's still in us, Andy, because all you have to do is go and watch Arsenal away to realise that. But even sort of things like, and you know, there are probably very good reasons that this couldn't happen. But you know, we had that kind of you know, we've got that kind of a singing section in one corner of the ground there that's been kind of specifically set aside for people who want to have a, you know, who are going to be vocal, who are going to be singing during games. Problem for me is it's as far away as it possibly could be from the away support. Whereas if you go, I don't know if you've been to Man City watching it, we're next door. Do you know what I mean? The singers at Man City are next door to the away support. So, I mean, I guess there are things you can do, but I'm not sure it may be just the way that football's changed, not just how we've changed. What do you think?
Well, do you know what? I think, like a lot of the top clubs, I think in regards to the away supporters, it's great to have the away supporters, don't get me wrong, but I think we're too compliant for them. Do you know what I mean? There are certain sections, certain clubs that will have away supporters far away from the pitch.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like Barcelona, like
or
Man United, you know?
Newcastle are the ones, aren't they?
Exactly. Yeah. And so, you know, why should we, as a club, do the same thing? Do you know what I mean? I don't know. I just think, I think that element of the side of our, you know, our corporateness, let's say, our Arsenalisation, we need to, I just think when it comes to the home games, we could do so much more for the fans to incorporate what it was like at Highbury.
Yeah.
You know, that was one of the main reasons I love the club. Do you know what I mean? Because we were so vocal.
Yeah. So what, I mean, are you talking, Andy, about stuff that you think the club should be doing, or are you actually saying to supporters, why aren't we doing what we used to do?
It's a two-way street, I suppose, but it has to start. I mean, everything started from the supporters, okay, in regards to the songs and the atmosphere and everything, right? Now, the atmosphere needed to be transported from Highbury to the Emirates, okay? Now, and that was really down to the club being able to do that and really getting involved in the Red Action, I think.
Yeah.
Because Red Action seems to be the
No,
organisation.
absolutely, and I think there's a good relationship between the club and Red Action, to be fair.
Yeah, I think so as well. But I think there are still certain things that are kind of missing, because there are fans, the hardcore fans in the section that you're talking about, that sing their heart out. And I remember first going to the Emirates that there were fans that were trying to do the, where the North Bank, where the North Bank, where the North Bank Highbury.
Yeah. And
then you'd get a section of people in the same area singing where the West Stand or where the Clock End.
No, absolutely.
So it was for me, I just felt that the club needed to do more in that sense, just to help the fans in that respect by maybe sectioning off, maybe having a large line of white seats. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? With red seats in between, so that in between that section, that was the Clock End.
Yeah.
Saying Clock End. In between the North, the same with the North Bank, same with the East Stand, West Stand,
Yeah.
And so that the fans can feel, well, this is my section. I'm part of the North Bank. I mean, I sit in the North Bank, and I know I'm in the North Bank, but do you know?
You don't feel like you're in the North Bank.
Exactly.
I do know what you mean.
It's the North Bank.
Yeah.
I want to feel like as if I'm part of Highbury.
Yeah. I do know.
Because we haven't moved.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, I mean, there's so much to talk about. It'd be great to hear what other people think about it. Thanks very much indeed for the call. That's brilliant. 0207 607 3200 is the number. And it is, what should the club be doing? What should we be doing? And all you have to do is go away with the Arsenal, and you think, well, there's not much wrong with our support, by the way. Fantastic down at West Ham, as it has been everywhere this season. The celebrations after Koscielny's equaliser at Man City were just fantastic, complete with the Poznan and all that. I mean, different class. It's just somehow it's all a bit comfortable at the new home of football.
But is it in that way the price to be paid for, everything you see around you at the stadium? I mean, this place, I've been here on some games, a couple of European ones, stand out. That the one Manchester United a few seasons ago when they and then obviously the Barcelona and some of the games against Chelsea. So I think the atmosphere is here. I understand what people are saying about the different singing sections and stuff, but obviously everyone was all in one place. At Highbury, and yet when they move, then they get scattered everywhere. And
although
the atmosphere still can be there in these new stadiums.
No, absolutely.
It's just maybe different. And certainly, I agree 100% with your point about the away fans. I mean, every time when I go and watch and cover a game and Arsenal away, you think, well, that's I mean, you just have to listen to the songs and the Giroud song, which he now even sings himself on YouTube, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
So, it's there, and it's among the best in the league.
Absolutely. Sell out our allocation, just it never stops. But anyway, thanks very much indeed for the call. 0207 607 3200. We'll get you through to Jim Van Wyk from the Press Association and myself. You can email us, fansforum@arsenal.co.uk, or you can tweet. We are at Arsenal. Hashtag is fansforum. Chris is in Milton Keynes. Chris, welcome to the home of football.
Hi, Tom. How you guys doing?
Yeah, not bad, mate. You?
Yeah, not too bad.
Ready to...
the Premier League can start as soon as possible.
Yeah, absolutely right. Absolutely right. Yeah. I'll tell you what, I was so desperate for a bit of live football, and I mean, kind of proper football. I went down to AFC Wimbledon v Cheltenham on Saturday down at Kingsmeadow. I tell you what, partly to sort of see a few old mates down at AFC Wimbledon, but you just think, at least you compare it to the night before, and you think, well, what's the point of England 5 San Marino? There's absolutely no point whatsoever. And then you go and watch some football that actually matters, and you think, actually, I'd rather watch this. I'd rather watch League 2. Than watch England play San Marino. But anyway, that's just that's just my moan up. What do you want to talk about, Chris?
Yeah, I want to talk about the January transfer window.
Sorry, say that again. Sorry, you want to talk about
the January transfer window?
Yes.
Okay. As much as we've got Zola, Podolski, and Giroud in, still feel we need another striker, a top-class striker, to be ready to win something this season. Okay, and if we to ship a couple of players out, okay, and get our fun, how nice would it be to get our fun at the Emirates? Okay, I know it costs a lot of money, but hey, it'll be nice for once. We got a top-class striker for us to win something.
Yeah. Chris, I'm having, and I don't know about you, Jim, I'm having an absolute nightmare with Chris's line there.
Yeah, it's a little bit... But
I'm really struggling.
He was trying to indicate that, you know, you need another, another top-class
No, absolutely,
striker.
absolutely.
And
I was going to say...
what sort of thing? I think it probably comes back to the point you were making about, you know, the sort of funds which the manager's going to go out and what... I mean, let's say, you know, Falcao, I mean, who wouldn't want him in the side, but... You know, I just think like with all the other, you know, people who are going to be pulling money out of the sand, it's just not, you know, not really sort of, you know, that one sort of wouldn't come off. But it's just, who would Arsenal fans like to, you know, like
Llorente
to come in?
from Athletic Bilbao on the other end, might
yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of talk about that, hasn't there? I think he's been, you know, well scouted, but it just seems to me at the moment Arsenal scout all these people and then someone else goes and buys them, which, you know, which is
I mean, interestingly, we've got Chris. By the way, if you can call us back on a slightly better line or try and we'd love to have you back on. It was really difficult to. Once we kind of got your drift, it was very difficult to make out the detail. But do give us a call back, 0207 607 3200 gets through. And this email kind of relates to what I was going to say. It's from Emil Taylor. Says that Darren Bent is set to leave Villa in January. Do you think he could play in an Arsenal shirt? I personally would love to see him at the club because he is just the natural goal scorer we could do with. And what I was going to say was that if you do go out and sign a striker in January, surely it's got to be a striker who's not cup-tied for Europe. You know what I mean? So we were talking last week about Andy Carroll, Fernando Llorente. I don't think, did Athletic Bilbao, are they playing in the... They might be playing in the Europa League, actually. But do you know what, Darren Bent is another one who wouldn't be cup-tied. Could you imagine Darren Bent playing for Arsenal?
Well, I mean, he certainly, you know, would you know, fit with the quality of, you know, proven goal scorer at the, you know, at the top level. I remember watching him for Charlton when he scored all those goals and forced his way into the squad. And he used to play right on the shoulder of the last, you know, of the last defender. You know, he could slot into Arsenal's, you know, to Arsenal's style. The only thing I think about, you know, Darren Bent is he's the type of player who maybe needs 2 or 3 chances before, you know, he'd put the ball away. So, you know, in that respect, you think, you know, is he of the top quality that you would need? But I mean, certainly if you're looking for, you know, a player to, you know, come in, if you're rotating, you know, Giroud or, you know, Walcott, I mean, you know, Darren Bent could certainly fit into the Arsenal style of play, and he's also just as happy playing that up top on his own. As we talked about the other week with Defoe, he's happy in that role, or, you know, he can play alongside someone. So.
No, I mean, I'll go back further now. I remember him playing. I remember him playing as a youth player for Ipswich against us, and he stood out even back then. But I just wonder if, you know, I think if you look at what Olivier Giroud brings. Darren Bent is an out-and-out goal scorer. I think, you know, if you compare the number of touches that a centre-forward like Olivier Giroud has during a game of football, you look at the number of touches that a Darren Bent has, you're not comparing like with like.
He's a penalty area.
He's a goal scorer.
He? Yeah.
He's a goal scorer, and actually, I wouldn't criticise him on the basis of he needs 2 or 3 chances to score a goal. I think he's, you know, he is. You play him, he'll score you 20 goals. But would he bring enough, particularly the shape of the team we're playing at the moment, would he bring enough of the other stuff? You know, obviously, you know, there's an argument to say, well, if he scores 20 goals in a season, then he doesn't need to do anything else. I'm not 100% convinced by that. I think, particularly with the shape of the team we're playing, I think you probably do need to do a bit more than that. And I'm not sure, much as I like him, because I do like him, and he's got, you know, he's good at he's decent at the defensive side of the game. You know, he will he'll chase lost causes, he'll run channels, he'll close defenders down when they. But just link up play, I'm not sure he's You know, if he was having as many touches as Olivier Giroud was being asked to have in a game, I'm not sure that Darren Bent would be anything like as productive.
I think it's, as you said, which player fits
Andy
in.
Carroll now.
Yeah, well, exactly. We talked about that last week, didn't it? It's
nobody bit. Nobody
gotta be
bit.
Someone, yeah.
Chris, we've got Chris back. Let's see if Chris is on a better line. Chris, how are we doing?
Hello?
Yeah, Chris.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Much, much better, Chris. Great to have you back, mate, because you started making a point and then we lost the detail. I really wanted to hear what you had to say. Go on, fire away.
Okay. Well, I wanted to talk about January and the targets we need to go for.
Yeah.
I would say it will be nice, okay, to get a top-quality striker in. Obviously, Falcon is being branded all over the place, but I mean, surely there must be some other top strikers there we can get in, because you look at the team right now, you can tell there's potential there, but you ask yourself, are we capable of winning something? And to be honest, look at it, I think no, okay, because we've got the midfield. We hope Arteta stays fit for the whole season, okay, because if he gets injured, that's a problem. But then up front, Giroud, a quality player, but I think we'll see the best out of him next season. Okay, and apart from Giroud, who else have we got? Well, Theo wants to play there. Apart from that, you look at the backup, and it's not good enough. And Gervinho goes to the African Cup of Nations in January.
Yeah.
You know, so maybe Wenger needs to ship a few players out. I know a couple of players who can go, and hey, let's get a top quality striker in for change. I know Wenger doesn't do that, but we'll make a change.
Yeah, well, to be fair, Arsene Wenger doesn't mind, for all that anybody says. Actually, if you look at his record, Arsene Wenger don't mind signing a player in January at all. He's signed plenty, you know, Arsene and Adebayo. He's signed plenty of players in the January transfer window over the time. And that's a really good point you make about Gervinho, who, you know, if he goes off to South Africa, it won't be quite as demanding a Cup of Nations as previous ones, perhaps, because you know it'll be relatively cool down there. The facilities will be good in South Africa. So, but even so, you know, if you're then left with Giroud and Chamakh as your centre forwards, that looks skinny, doesn't it? That does look skinny, and maybe January is a time to invest. Now, where do you pitch what Arsenal could realistically afford? I mean, I think, you know, Falcao is probably out of the question, because, you know, if the fella down the road wants to pay £50 million for Torres, then he'll pay £50 million for Falcao. I think he'll need ripping out of Atletico Madrid, because they have got their best chance. You know, they've got a huge chance of qualifying for the Champions League. If you qualify for the Champions League, why do you sell the fella who's going to get you there in January if you know you've got your best chance for ages of getting there? I'm not sure anybody will get him out of the club, and if they do, they'll pay way over the odds. On the other hand, someone like a Fernando Llorente or an Andy Carroll might be within the, you know, Liverpool, if they are serious about not wanting Andy Carroll back, will surely be ready to take a hit on him. Whether he is an Arsenal player, I don't know. I kind of asked a question last week and nobody bit, but anyway.
Is there a recall on Bentner?
Well, I don't know. But Bentner, you know, to be fair to the fella, he scored again the other night. Scored again for Denmark. His goal-scoring record at international level is as good as Podolski's.
It's that tough play. I mean, the other thing is, you know, January, short-term move, Thierry Henry back again, there's your quality player to, you know, bring in.
No, been done.
So, you know, I mean, I think if he's going to go for a permanent move, then I think you've just got to go for someone who's better than you've got. I mean, you know, Park, we can forget about. I mean, we're here now that even the money's being written off. I don't think he'll play again. Chamakh, what is he doing? Is he still got, you know, malaria, or is he just, you know, completely out of the, you know, out of the picture altogether? Bentner, yes, you know, he's playing well, but, you know, obviously not.
No, but he's Juventus for the
exactly,
season,
so he's not in the short-term plan. So that is the one area, I think Chris is right, that you do need to bring somebody in there. Who do you bring in? The manager has probably got his own, you know, shortlist already, probably with a lot of players that we haven't never heard of on that. but I think maybe this is the time to, go for someone. I mean, as we talked about last week, someone of that experience, Andy Carroll, Darren Bent, there are these guys out there, English guys who know the Premier League inside out, who are all ready. And why not take a punt on if there is this, this money, spend 15 of it, spend 20 million, because that could be the difference between, second, third, or, even maybe, winning a cup competition. You don't know, because if you get to the latter stages of, say, the One Cup, these other teams, that are going to be able to, pull in their bigger players. So
0207 607 3200 gets you through to the home of football. We are here to get you on air to the Arsenal speaking world, whatever you want to talk about. Absolutely fine for Jim Van Wyk from the Press Association and myself. You can email us to fansforum@arsenal.co.uk, or you can tweet. We are at Arsenal. Hashtag you need is fansforum. Suyi's in Bedford. Suyi, welcome to the home of football.
Hi, how are you doing today?
Yeah, good. You?
Yeah, not too bad myself.
Good.
Just got back from work, so I just thought I'd get a little bit of Arsenal in me.
Hey, that is exactly right of a Monday night. What do you do for a living, Suyi? Just out of entire nosiness?
Logistics.
Okay.
So, yeah. Well, it's been a long day at work, a bit tired now. So.
Well, I'm glad you're relaxing with us, fellow. So what do you want to talk about?
Basically, I just wanted to talk about the goalkeeping position.
Yeah.
Because basically, earlier on you were saying about Szczesny being young and he might be the right player for that position. Mm-hmm. But what I think is if we went out for a world-renowned goalkeeper, like Buffon, for instance, I know it might cost Arsenal a lot of money, but I think Szczesny would then learn a lot from him. Like all the silly mistakes he's making, all that sort of stuff he could sort of be on the bench, learn from, because he sort of learned from Almunia, and he was rubbish. So when he's got someone in there in front of him that he can learn from, I think he'll just get better and better. Not him just being overly confident, I've got that number one spot. And then sometimes I think, because he's quite young, that might end up getting to his head,
Yeah, I absolutely take your point, and there is an argument for. I just think I'm not sure about that. I absolutely get your point that, maybe if you had a top class goalkeeper who was brought in and that Szczesny trained with him every day, worked with him every day. I mean, take Buffon as an example, who not only is obviously a proven, he's probably still right up there, top 3 or 4 in the world, however old he is. What is he, 36 maybe? Buffon's 36, 37, but right up there with the very best in the world. And you say, okay, well, if Szczesny could train with him every day, play in the cup games and be number 2, he would grow as a goalkeeper. The only argument against that is, when you've got someone who you think is going to be your number 1, and I think of people like Joe Hart, like Iker Casillas, who came into the Real Madrid team when he was 17 and he ain't been out since. That if they're going to be your number 1, play them. Play them. And yes, they probably will have the odd up and down, but play them. That what a goalkeeper needs more than anything is games. And if you think the fella's got enough about him to be your number 1, you won't find out whether he's good enough by him being on the bench and training with an established. That's not to say I'm not with Suyi on this one, but I do, that is the other argument, isn't it?
Brad Friedel, there you go, bring him in. I mean, that's a classic example, isn't it, when you've got 2, experienced, great goalkeepers, in the squad. I'm not really sure how that's going to work down the road, but I don't think anyone here probably really cares, to be honest.
No. It'll be by Christmas, Loris will be the number 1 undisputed.
Yeah. I mean, it would. It's just is having that experienced backup, is that more important than having more up-and-coming young goalkeepers?
Well, that's the thing,
under an up-and-coming, because isn't that the job of your goalkeeping coach to give them that experience?
You're going to bring in an experienced keeper as your number 2. He's not going to be a top keeper, is he?
No. But
is he going to be better than what you got?
You can bring in an experienced keeper, say for example, and do the job that Lehmann did when Lehmann came back in to work with a guy and and sort of bounce off him and feed off him, and I think those goalkeepers are out there. I mean, as you suggested with Schwarzer, and I think that's what his role would have been. It wouldn't have been to come in and to be the number one. The manager talked about his goalkeepers a couple of weeks ago, mentioning Mannone and his experience at Hull, and he said what a goalkeeper has to know is he has to know that you have faith in him, and that if he makes a mistake, he's not suddenly going to be dropped.
No.
I know some goalkeepers do, get dropped, and we've seen, high-profile examples of that. But the goalkeeper has to know that if he does make a mistake, he will be given the chance to redeem himself. Yeah. But obviously, if his standards drop too far, you've got to be able to have someone who can come in.
No,
and at the moment, Mannone seems to be good enough, for that. But would you be more comfortable if, say, Schwarzer was your number two?
Well, I must admit, when we were talking about signing Schwarzer, we should have signed Schwarzer.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't have come in. Almunia was our number one at the time. And that was the season we ended up losing to Birmingham in the Carling Cup final. And from there, a season disintegrated. That was the season we should have won the league. And to be perfectly honest, I think if Schwarzer had been in goal that season, we would certainly have won the Carling Cup. We might well have won the league. I think we've moved on since then, to be honest. And certainly, Szczesny and recently Mannone have emerged. So I'm not convinced that now is the right time to buy her. 3 years ago would have been, or whenever it was, 2.5 seasons ago, would have been just the right time. Mike is in Fleet in Hampshire. Mike, welcome to the home of football. Good to have you with us.
Good evening, Tom. Good evening, Jim.
No, sir.
I'm a season ticket holder, and got two issues I wanted to get your views on, which frustrate me and confuse me. Go to pretty much every game. For the last 3 to 4 years, I've noticed every time we defend a corner, we never ever leave a player upfield. So when the ball comes out of defence, it invariably just comes straight back. And I find this particularly puzzling when you've got somebody with Theo's pace. In those situations, I just leave Theo somewhere hovering around the centre circle and try and get the ball up to him over the centre half and let him use his pace. So that's one thing which seems fairly obvious, and I'm not the only one, whereas most of the people around me are arguing the same thing. Why do we never leave anybody up? So that was my first point. The second point was linked again with corners, and this may be just my imagination, but I don't think it is. It seems that we are always coming second to corners we're defending, hence the reason we give away goals like the one that Lescott got at Man City. And at the same time, we very seldom ever get our head on the ball on the corners we're attacking. So in other words, we seem to come second to every corner, whether we're defending it or attacking it. So I just welcome your views.
A couple of good ones, really. With the corners, I don't know. It's true. If you look at Arsenal taking corners and defending corners, you think, do we spend much time practicing either? You do, particularly, when we take corners, you do wonder. Defending corners, it's interesting that you say that, Mike, about that you pick out the Lescott goal. I actually thought that afternoon we defended corners particularly well, and that actually the goal we conceded was just a goalkeeper error. If the goalkeeper in that particular instance had stayed on his line, he would have caught the header and we wouldn't have been kind of worrying generally about. I think, generally speaking, I think we're defending corners, if not free kicks, better than we were last season. But there is a bit of work to be done there, because you think, the number of goals that get scored generally from corners, the percentage has got to be a lot higher than the percentage we're achieving.
I think the point you make there, Mike, about not leaving someone up from corners, but Arsenal always seem so dangerous on the on that quick counter from the from a corner. So maybe that's something something in that if you had the extra player up, and we've seen it, haven't we? A goalkeeper for corner one when Arsenal do defend, get it straight out to the wing, bang, and Arsenal are away. I think sometimes with Arsenal, it's the second ball maybe at corners that need to look at more. I think it was Koscielny's goal. Did that come from a corner? I think it was only sort of half cleared, and then he smashed
Koscielny's goal
at Man City, and then he sort of smashed it back in. But it just seems to be set piece just seems to be troubling Arsenal, but then they trouble a lot of teams.
Set pieces are where most teams score their goals from.
You just think that. Especially with some of the height that Arsenal now have, especially if, Diaby's fit, Mertesacker, Giroud. I mean, none of these guys are small, are they? And but we saw at West Ham, didn't we? One of the most effective defenders West Ham had was their centre forward. Yeah. At corners. So it's got to be a collective thing, and but I mean, it's never like when Arsenal get a corner, you never suddenly think, oh, it's a corner for Arsenal, they've got a chance of scoring here. Yeah. But when the opposition seem to get it, we're all sort of sitting there thinking, right, well, what could go wrong with the defending from this one? So, yeah, I mean, it certainly, is a point which must be frustrating.
I do love that one, though, about why do we never leave anyone forward, because I know that does drive people absolutely bonkers. The weird thing is that it's catching on. Have you noticed there's more and more teams not leaving anyone up?
But you break so quickly.
No, that's the thing.
So you think if you have an extra player up there,
if you've got Theo Walcott,
just leave him on.
To be perfectly honest, I actually favour the not leaving anyone.
Oh, you do?
Because I actually think that Theo on the move is far more dangerous than Theo with the ball launched in his general direction. Do you know what I mean? I just look at the goal. Can't remember what it was breaking from, whether it was breaking from a West Ham corner or the second goal at West Ham, which is absolute classic counter-attack. And I'm not, the fact was that Giroud came deep and that Theo broke from deep. He wasn't kind of hanging about. I kind of get why we don't leave anybody forward, but I also get why it drives some people absolutely, because it does seem almost willful.
Let's hope it's driving you mad Saturday evening.
We'll see. Mike, thanks very much indeed for the call. That is one though. And something personally, I've got a thing about why do we always have to wait for the right back or the left back to come forward to take a throw in? Do you know what I mean? Why don't the left side midfielder take it and throw it back to the... but, there are certain things about football that are designed to drive us mad, Mike, and that's probably yours, and I know it's shared by a few others besides. 0207 607 3200 is the number. Siram is in the Netherlands. Siram, have I got that pronunciation right?
Yeah, you're right.
Excellent.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. Where are you calling from in Holland, Siram?
I'm calling from Delft in the Netherlands.
Okay, very good. Delft?
Yeah.
All right, excellent.
I'm really happy to be on Fans Forum. Thank you for having my call.
We're happy to have you. Our first caller from Delft, I have to say.
Oh, really?
Yeah, okay. Absolutely. So you're double welcome. What you got for us?
Oh, I just have some message for my fellow Gunners, actually.
Yeah.
It's mostly about the January transfer window. There have been quite a few rumours on the newspaper that Wenger is interested in looking at some new signings, especially to strengthen the striker department. What I'd like to tell to most of the fellow fans is that we are led by probably the best manager out there. They call him the professor for no reason. And I had the chance to visit Emirates Stadium last month. I did the Legends tour with John Radford.
Oh, good. What a man.
And he actually mentioned that they don't call Wenger the professor for no reason. And if there is any player out there on the transfer window, Wenger is pretty much aware of when was the last time the player even had a shower. So I think we just should not worry about whom we are going to bring in. I'm pretty much confident that whoever Wenger brings in, he'll do a great job.
Yeah.
And what's worrying me at the moment is if we are looking for a striker, what really is happening with the contract situation of Theo Walcott? Because it was mentioned some time ago that maybe they'll play Walcott as a striker through the middle. But if we are really looking for reinforcement on the striker department, I really don't know. I think we should probably hang on to Walcott. Maybe we should sign the thing now.
Yeah, I mean, I think you'd have to go away to find a player who can be much more useful to Arsenal Football Club than Theo Walcott, who does bring you something that very, very few other, that combination of pace and finishing ability, for however much there are still parts of his game that he's still working on. Theo, Siram, I think you're right, has absolutely got something that is really valuable to us, and I'd be very, very low. Do you see it's an interesting point, I've not heard it made, Siram, thanks very much indeed for the call, that connection between the talk about signing a striker is in some way related to Theo's contract situation. Is there a link now?
Some of the guys have made it, big deal of it, and maybe reading between the lines and saying that since there's been this contract stuff, he hasn't started a game, he hasn't played in the central striker, and playing Gervinho there is a slap in his face and all that kind of stuff. I'm not too sure. Maybe we're reading too much into that. Yeah, I think that they want to get the deal done, but it's got to be on it's got to be on the right terms for everyone. And maybe we all just have to accept that if the deal can't be done and it's not on the right terms for the manager, not on the right terms for play, however much he wants to stay here, well, that might be the might be the outcome of it. I mean, he's not going to be paid £200,000 a week. Yeah. I think he has to accept some of that on his side. And you can't demand and say, well, unless I'm playing a central striker, I'm off. And you might as well say the same with Sagna. Well, when Sagna's not fit, does that mean because he's not signed a new deal that the manager's just going to say, well, I'm not playing you? Yeah. I mean, it's difficult sometimes because you do get those, signals from the manager that maybe that, that is the case. But he has said that, look, if this goes on, too long, you're starting to get to January. Well, then obviously, if it's not done in January, he can then, sign pre-contract agreement with anyone else. And I don't think, that the manager wants to be in that position. But I don't think the Theo Walcott situation should have any bearing on the manager going out and strengthening what is a weak area in the squad, at the moment, because he just doesn't. You just don't have enough backup there. I mean, say, okay, Walcott's out now. Gervinho picks up an injury.
Oh, it goes off to the Cup of Nations.
Exactly. And Giroud gets kicked up in the air by Bassong on Saturday, and then all of a sudden you're saying, well, whereas you centre forward, okay, you move Podolski there, then you've got the issue of then the balance of the team is not right. So you just need some, you need some backup and some quality backup in there.
Thanks very much indeed for the call, Delft. Lovely part of the world. Let's have some of your tweets. We are at Arsenal, and the hashtag you need is Fans Forum tweets. Ezekiel Bai says Wenger should get a good striker in January so that we can be strong contenders for the league and Champions League. At Mark Thorpe 8 says we'll win at Norwich. They try to play football, and that will mean lots of space to play. Would love to see Podolski central. Alan Munro says Arsenal will have too much for Norwich. It will be the Gunners who end up singing, not the Canaries. 3-0 to the Arsenal. Hope you're right there. I am Oz Guna says I think our team spirit is much better this season. We are more determined and show never say die fighting qualities. At Steve Kira says that Mannone hasn't been able to keep a clean sheet again after the beginning of the season, and that says a lot. Hey, plenty in there. We did get a chance to see Podolski play central. First game of the season he played central against Sunderland. It didn't look to suit him. I mean, that's not to say it won't at some point, but I just feel it's not a coincidence that he's played most of his football for.
It works, doesn't it? It just works. It looks like it shouldn't, but it just works with him on the left there.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, it's just.
Because I thought his all-round game was excellent at West Ham as well. Obviously the cross for Giroud's goal, but he put in 3 or 4. He's unlucky not to score himself, and he put in 3 or 4 absolutely fantastic crosses. But it's interesting. It does seem this feeling now's the time to get another centre forward, and whether that's because we've been kind of reading the gossip about Arsene Wenger thinking about signing a centre forward, or whether that is something that he's absolutely playing. I mean, you take Gervinho out for the Cup of Nations, and that tournament can hit players very, very hard. Gervinho, I think, was hit pretty hard last time round. Certainly, Kolo Touré in the past came back from a Cup of Nations and were never the same player for us. So, it can be a real issue. And you're effectively left with Giroud as your centre forward, unless, things have been sorted out with Theo by then and you plan to... It does feel like if you're going to strengthen anywhere, that's probably where it needs to be. Although, the caller who said earlier, if Arteta was to take a knock, where would we be right at this point?
We're hoping that maybe Wilshere and Diaby, back, and you got plenty of cover there. But
0207 607 3200 will get you through. You can email fansforum@arsenal.co.uk, or you can tweet us. We are at Arsenal. The hashtag is fansforum. people liking the sound of away to Norwich on Saturday by the sound of it. I don't know. All right. Yeah, but I just think you're lulling us all into a false sense of security.
That's it.
They will turn in the show, Norwich.
Okay. Yeah,
Hopefully it won't make any difference.
Yeah,
hopefully it won't make any difference whatsoever.
After the Lord Mayor show, I think that's
a couple of your posts from Facebook. Bacary Mannone says, Mannone is actually good for us at the moment. We need a new right back and sell Sagna and a solid replacement for Song as well. Stay Papey says, if you want a good goalie, take one from Germany. Can't do anything wrong with it. I'll tell you what, I would still have Herman the German around the club. Layman, I love the geezer. Absolutely love the geezer.
He's going in the Olympics, isn't he? I was reading. Blind Olympics, he's going to go in for Rio. In the Paralympic team, I think. He's going to go in goal. Jens Lehmann, they were saying.
For the blind Paralympics? How does that work?
For the Paralympics, because you're allowed a sighted goalkeeper.
Is that right?
In the Paralympics, yeah, and apparently he was approached by it, and he said, yeah, why not? I'll, if I'm available, I'll give it a go.
I'm sure he'd take that. I tell you, he still looks, because he still comes to Arsenal pretty bit. Yeah. He still looks like he could play tomorrow.
Yeah.
Just, but, yeah, not wrong. Actually, just at the moment, you're thinking anything we take out of Germany is looking half decent, to be perfectly honest. Yeah. It's so ironic, isn't it, that we've got to this stage in the new season, and people are going, it's got to be Mertesacker +1, really. If you think back to last season, think back to all the criticism, some of it very, very ill-advised indeed, I have to say. I don't mean so much from Arsenal supporters, I mean from people in, quote-unquote, experts who talk us through games on Match of the Day and what have you, that, now, but Paul Mertesacker, he's a player, isn't he? It's like, yeah. But it was an interesting point that someone made a few minutes ago about that if there is a player to be signed, it's great. I love the speculation, personally. I could talk about, we could sign this one, we could sign that. I could talk about that. But deep down, you do know, if it comes to if a decision's been made to sign, that if you wanted anybody to be making the decisions on who to sign, it would be Arsene Wenger, ahead of any other manager, arguably, in world football.
If you look at the players who have lit up the Premier League, this season, the signings, Juan Mata, Eden Hazard, both of them on Arsene Wenger's radar, for a long, long time, and Santi Cazorla, looks like he's played here, forever. I mean, and who honestly, before the deal and wheels were in motion, would have said, oh yeah, he's a player who's going to be, who's definitely going to be coming over, to England. But the manager obviously had his eye on him for a long time. And the same with, with Podolski.
I tell you what, fair play to have gone in and nicked him as well.
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
I mean,
they're a bit short of cash.
Yeah, but the amazing thing is, have you seen them in the Champions League, Malaga?
Yeah,
they're fantastic. Yeah. Absolutely 2-3-0 wins. They look absolutely different class, even without Santi Cazorla. Fair play to them. Cameron is in Los Angeles. Cameron, welcome to the home of football. Good to have you with us.
Thanks, Tom. You right?
Yeah, good.
Yeah, I want to talk about two quick points. Yeah, I want to talk about the, just like a fellow Gooner called in about the Arsenalisation.
Yeah.
And as well, I just want to quickly talk about the importance of winning the League Cup this year, or the Capital One Cup.
Yeah.
As far as the Arsenalisation, I have to, I don't agree with everything the board's done over the years, but I have to, give them their props. I really appreciate what Gazidis and, bringing in the Red Action for, putting the soul back into the Emirates, or into the Emirates, because it really lacked at first. And, they've done a wonderful job. We've got a beautiful stadium, possibly one of the best in the world. But the problem with it, there are times that we know there's a problem, and it's the atmosphere. It's still an issue. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. And I think, plain and simply, it's just because, of course, pricing is an issue, but I think we're just too far apart as fans from the game. If you look at how Highbury was, we were so close to the players, we could literally touch them. They can hear us whisper, The 12th man just happens to be just too far apart. I don't know if it's like this, if it's it's almost like it's an Olympic stadium. I don't know why we can't add more seats there, bring the fans closer, especially, in the North Bank and Clock End, just to get them closer to the players, and really have that 12th man present. I think that's something the board can do that's realistic, maybe in the off-season. The other thing is the League Cup. I think, a lot of people say, no, we've got, top four is paramount. We've got to keep our players fresh, even if we want to have a chance at, title challenge. But I feel like if we go for this League Cup, Capital One Cup, if we do win it, because this year we've got a good chance. Chelsea and Man United have to play each other. They'll cancel each other out, and Manchester City is out of it. We can, if we do win it, we can, that psychological barrier will be lifted off this team, the staff, and even, take off the pressure of the supporters like you and me. We don't have to worry, hear about 7 years trophy list, this, that.
No, but you know what we'd hear about instead? People would go, it was only the League Cup. Do you know what I mean? But I absolutely take your point, because I do think it would have made. If we'd won the League Cup 2 years ago, I think we would have won the league. I think there is something that would break through with a group when you do actually win something. Are you worried, Cameron, that we won't play strong enough teams?
Well, what, in the League Cup?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we've got Reading next. Yeah, we can afford to play some of our bench players, or even players that are not in the first team still, up to like maybe the semi-finals. We don't know if the other big teams in the Premier League will be there, right? And if they are, we can add a few players like we could probably slot Cazorla in there or Wilshere. We've got the depth, right? Even if they're not in there, Ramsey, Rosicky, if he comes back by then, we've got we could play in Mannone, fringe players, even Carl Jenkinson. If by the time Bacary comes back, we still want to have Carl Jenkinson, active. We don't want him to be, catching dust or anything like that,
Yeah.
And put them in the League Cup. If they do win, like you said, Tom, that could, really encourage us to really have a go in the league.
No,
and it will help players like Cazorla and Podolski think, right, okay, first trophy we competed for.
Yeah.
We've won it. I've really made the right choice. Come to Arsenal. We're not cursed, right? We're bound to win things, And I feel like this year, especially, when Gazidis came out saying, success is around the corner, and I think the average football supporter would agree that this year something's got to give with Arsenal, and I say why not? Let's just start with the League Cup, just to get that monkey off our back.
Cameron, I think it's a really, really good point. The other thing, of course, is when the League Cup happens, and basically it's pretty well done and dusted by the time the knockout phase of the Champions League happens. So it's not, if you get to the quarterfinals, say you get to the quarterfinals of the Champions League, say you're in the top 2 or 3 in the Premier League, and you're into the quarterfinals of the FA Cup, suddenly it's like these massive February, the League Cup is done and dusted. Go, win it. Happy days. You're not having to worry about people playing in, can't play them in the League Cup because we've got such and such a game. You can go and win that thing. Winning that cup could only possibly do us good. And to be fair, we have got a stronger bench than we have in years, as far as there is more room for rotation for the League Cup, more argument for rotation for the League Cup than there has been for years. That you can rest players, but still put out a really strong 11, nonetheless.
Yeah, I mean, I agree completely there. I mean, Arsenal's squad now, squad as a whole is probably as good as we've seen it for a fair few years. The manager did say in the last time when he got to the final, they put so much into that, and they put so much, and I think there was so much pressure, wasn't there, and so much expectation on that, and it was a bit like it's Birmingham. I think if you played that game 100 times, Arsenal would win it 99, wouldn't they? The draw away at Reading, with all due respect to Reading, it's the same as when you go to Norwich. A second string Arsenal team should be able to win. Should be able to win that tie. And hopefully, you get a home tie in the next round, and then obviously, the semi-finals are home and away, and you saw with Ipswich. So, if there's still some championship sides in there, then Arsenal have got a good a chance as anyone with the other sides who are going out. And my colleague who covers Manchester United made the good point that a few years ago when Manchester United went through a similar sort of situation, not winning things, that was the catalyst, wasn't it? They won the Carling Cup, and then they were able to go on to strengthen things.
No, absolutely, it's the first trophy Jose Mourinho won at Chelsea.
And there's absolutely no reason why Arsenal shouldn't go. I think, as you said, if it was the FA Cup, and it was a call between, you know, how much emphasis do I put on the FA Cup and how much do I put on the Champions League, then there's only going to be one winner. I think we've seen that a few times now, hasn't it? Because not the manager wants to do it because he loves all these competitions. He, you know, if he had his way, he'd try and win, you know, win absolutely everything. But you know, you can't do that, and there has to become a time, but not in February.
No, absolutely. The other point about atmosphere, you know, it's something we need to kind of address at some point, but let's talk to Felix in Bushy first. Felix, welcome to the home of football. What do you want to talk about?
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Thank you, you're doing a good job.
Thanks to Cameron in Los Angeles for the call, by the way. Go on, fire away, Felix.
There's two things I want to say.
Yeah.
One is we've got 3 good players which we've signed recently, which is Cazorla, Giroud, and who's the other one?
Podolski.
Podolski.
Yeah.
And we've also got young players, 2 young players, British players, coming through as well. If I mention names like Jenkinson.
Yeah.
We've got Oxlade-Chamberlain.
Yeah.
Just to mention a few.
Yeah.
Why is it that we're not protecting our players in the sense that you have people putting clauses on players and stuff? Because all you have to listen to now is going to be, oh, this guy's doing well in Arsenal. The next thing is the big boys with the money. Start sending money around and the agents start talking crap in their ears. Oh, they're going to take him off. They're going to sign him. Put some clause on them. Okay, if you want Jenkinson, you're ready to pay 25 million or 30 million. I'm not saying they're going to pay the price, but just put it there. Barcelona does it. Real Madrid does it. Put it there. It's there at the
I know you do. You hear about these buyout clauses in players' contracts. You never hear a buyout clause in an English player's contract. It's absolutely true. I mean, you know, Demba Ba, that'd be another interesting one. Although he'd be off to, actually, he won't be off to the Cup of Nations, will he? So, but no, it's an interesting one. And what you do to make sure you hang on to your players is, I think, winning trophies is one thing. That will make a difference. The boys, Felix, I don't know how you feel, but the boys who are going to leave here, if we were winning trophies, the boys who were going to leave here nonetheless because they get more money up the road, I don't know about you, Felix, but I'll drive them wherever they want to go. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know.
It's like, if a player or a player in consultation with their representative on earth decides that what matters ultimately is the biggest pound note for whatever reason, well then we ain't going to give them that biggest pound note, so off you go. You know what I mean? I just... Do
you think if you'd had that Carling Cup moment and you'd won that, then arguably...
Well, I think we would have won the league that season. If we'd won the Carling Cup, we would have won the league.
So if you didn't win the league, if you'd won that, then you feel that, you know, maybe some of the, you know, guys, I mean, certainly, you know, Van Persie, I would have think he would have, you know, seen that there's something to build on and, you know, go from that. I mean, you can argue that, you know, certain other players would have left, you know, would have left anyway. But it's just too easy a stick to beat Arsenal with, isn't it? I'm leaving because of trophies. Well,
no, absolutely.
Not. You're leaving because you're getting £250,000 a week somewhere else.
And
but after tax, that's not actually that much money.
Yeah, but also they're saying, well, it's, you know, you're leaving because. Thanks very much indeed for the call, Felix. There's that whole thing about leaving for, you know, leaving because we're not winning trophies. Why did we not win trophies?
Yeah, because
you weren't up to it. Do you know what I mean? I just it drives. There is one thing. I mean, obviously it'd be completely different at Carrow Road. Carrow Road, old-fashioned football ground, 20-odd thousand in there. One way or another, it's going to be fantastic atmosphere, and you can be absolutely sure that the away section will play their part in it. But you know, just before we kind of sign up, you'll have your own memories, Jim. Do you think that maybe we tend to kind of sentimentalise what it was like back at the old place? That you know, there have been unbelievable nights and afternoons. Atmosphere at the Tottenham game last season, atmosphere against Barcelona, atmosphere against Everton the same season, atmosphere against Man United, you're right, albeit it was punctured very quickly in that Champions League semi-final, wasn't it? You know what I mean? That, you know, there were, as far back as you go, you think, you know, I can remember being with 60,000 people at Highbury and there being... and then you can remember nights when, for whatever reason, it was unbelievable. I remember a Littlewoods Cup semi-final second leg against Everton. Possibly the best atmosphere ever. Who knows why? But it just... that it's not always that, you know, you're never gonna. We like to think back. Look, when you think back to Highbury, you think about the nights when there were amazing atmospheres. You think about afternoons when there were amazing atmospheres, and you think about how those things work cumulatively as you build towards what's going to be a successful season. And there's more and more and more at stake in every game. It wasn't like that week in, week out.
No. And also, I mean, facilities-wise, I mean, you know, well, I come from in Colchester, where I live now. You know, they left from Layer Road. People say, oh, you know, it was great, the lane. And other people said, well, no, you know, it was a place. It was, you know, falling down, and you know, you kind of have all that. And I think, obviously, you know, there is a bit of, you know, nostalgia and that, you know, thrown in. But there's no reason why, you know, if the team's not, you know, if the team's performing well on the pitch and everyone's behind the team, you know, you can get those great nights. And,
no,
you know, and I'm sure there'll be one again, you know, next week against Schalke as well. You know.
Yeah, I just feel like what this place desperately needs is a bit of history being made to it. I'm looking at, you know, since we've moved in, you know, you look at all the kind of, you know, White Hart Lane 71, space, Liverpool 1989. Yeah, there is that space, but I even look at those other things, and that's all history that was made somewhere else. I mean, really, really need to make some history here, and that once we do, it's the one thing that's lacking from making it feel like home. And once we do feel like we belong here, you know, then
we do. But I mean, this is the future, isn't it? And this is what's going to, you know, build the club and, you know, take you on into, you know, into the future.
Jim, it's been great to see you, mate. You know, possibly, if what you've been suggesting might happen at Carrow Road happens, I'd be inclined to get you back here. Do you know what I mean?
I don't know.
Because I would love to be sitting here celebrating, having absolutely. I think it's so important. Come back. We went off to the international break in such a good mood. It's so important that we come back from it with the right result as well. Particularly because, obviously, you know, we'll be here to talk about it next Monday night. That game at Carrow Road, the 5:30 kickoff against Norwich, and we'll be looking ahead then to a home game on the Wednesday against Schalke. Big game in Arsenal's Champions League season. I just feel like the attitude on Saturday is absolutely key. And we'll know almost as soon as we kick off. If we're at it, then happy days, and I would expect us to win the game.
There can't be any complacency, can there? There can't be that thought of, well, you know, we're going to Norwich, they're taller, you know, they can't defend, we've just got to turn up. Because if you do, you know, then that could be an issue. But I just, you know, as much as I would like, you know, Holty to stick 3 in, and you know, it'll be a straightforward home win. You know, I think it's going to be a struggle, but that's football. You know, you never know.
You never do, and I hate that. You know, teams that haven't won, they're going to win sooner or later. But
we have to get it right.
It's not going to be on Saturday, is it? Of course, it's not going to be on Saturday. Jim, thanks very much indeed for your company. Great to have you with us. Thanks to you for your calls, for your emails, for your tweets, your Facebook postings. We will come back for more of the same. Same time next week, I hope, by which time things will be looking as good as they were when we left off before the international break. Away to Norwich, up the Arsenal.